Eligible voters to register and verify their details this weekend ahead of the 2019 national elections. He addressed people who joined him on this morning's walk from Regina Mundi Church to Mangalane Garage in Soweto. Ramaphosa commended those who are promoting good health alongside him. He's also urged people to encourage others to register to vote.
Comrade, this has been a special walk because today we've got to go out in our numbers to go and encourage our people to register to vote. Today is a mobilizing day. We've started it at 6 o'clock. We're going to end it at 6. We will be going door to door, asking our people to vote, asking our people to go and register, because the next elections are going to be very, very important. Right now, it doesn't matter which party you belong to, as long as you register to vote. Now, as we were walking, we also saw that the streets of our township are not very clean. We now are going to start a big campaign, a national campaign on cleaning the streets of our townships and where we live. We are going to do a real tumamina to go and clean the places where we live. You know, I visited Rwanda once, and for Rwanda, once a month, everybody stops everything they are doing at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, and they clean the areas where they live. Now, comrades, the time has come for us as South Africans to have a healthy lifestyle, but also to clean the places where we live. Because when you have a healthy lifestyle and you clean the places where you live, it opens up your mind and your head.
The Independent Electoral Commission has urged all South Africans to visit voting stations and register and verify their details today and tomorrow for the 2019 general elections. More than 22,000 voting stations across the country will be open between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. The IEC says they are ready to obtain the addresses of all registered voters as demanded by the Constitutional Court. Political leaders have encouraged eligible voters to visit voting stations to register and update their details on the voters' roll. Some 22,000 stations will open. Leaders of various parties will also visit the stations to woo voters. Now in the studio we have the acting political editor Sophie Mokoena to talk more about today's voter registration and next year's general elections. A very good morning to you, Sophie. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Morning, Sophie.
Take us through today's voter registration. What are we expecting to see?
Well, we'll see many political party leaders going to the voting stations, particularly where they are registered, to kind of check their details, whether they are still there, and also to encourage South Africans to go and check their details, but also to encourage young voters in particular, those who are not registered, to do so. And in a way also campaigning, because you are aware that the 2019 elections are going to be hotly contested, and campaigning in earnest has started, even though it's not official, but you can see how political parties are conducting themselves, that it's all about 2019 now.
It's interesting how you mentioned particularly the younger voters. I mean, there's been an uproar in the sense that younger people are not represented at decision-making structures. Take, for instance, the last cabinet reshuffle. We saw old faces being recycled and no young blood was incorporated into this. Do you think young people are interested?
It's a global problem. You know, when you look at the continent, majority of people or population is young people. But unfortunately, most of them, some of them are not there yet in terms of occupying the highest position in different countries. But we are beginning to see a shift. When you look at leaders around the continent, particularly, you take a look at a person like George Weah, who's much younger. You look at other countries, there are changes. Around the world, you look at other countries in Europe in particular, we're beginning to see young leaders. But the reality is a lot needs to be done to bring in the young people. But the young people themselves must fight for their space. And in South Africa in particular, we've started the process, of seeing young people fighting for their rightful place, and they are doing it in different sectors, be it in the media, be it in the public sector, be it in politics. We have young leaders currently, even though they are not so young, but still they are very young. People like Malema, people like Musi Maimane, Balula. You have young people who are actually fighting for their space, but it's very difficult for the senior citizens to give way for young people to take over. But I think you need a mixed, because you must have institutional memory. If you don't have an institutional memory, yes, you'll have young faces, you'll have more articulate people in those spaces, but content will be a problem. Therefore, you need to ensure that you fuse in the young people nicely, you take them on board, you train them in different sectors, you take them on board and you hand over. And there will be, I think, different countries that have identified young people will do well in future.
We're talking of the so-called Ramaphoria, and people are saying that Cyril Ramaphosa is enjoying his honeymoon. Is he going to enjoy his honeymoon right through the 2019 elections, or is it going to be short-lived?
It depends.
Does it strike you as a people's person?
You know what, truth be told, sometimes when we see people or leaders from far, we think they are cold, they can't reach out. You'd recall in 1994, when President Mandela came, it was automatic because everybody was happy, new dispensation, and there were questions raised about his successor, Mbeki, a cold man, aloof. But when he started the campaign in 2019, in 1999, everybody was shocked how he packaged himself and how he conducted himself. I can still remember the visuals, him sitting down with elderly people, wearing those boots in rainy days, campaigning, and people were shocked. Why? Because there are people around you who are supposed to assist you to be able to reach out and correct where they think you are not doing well. And I think Ramaphosa himself right now has got people around him who are looking at the visuals, looking at the pictures and saying, but you have to do this differently, you have to do this, and this is how you must speak. And I think he is going to do just that. All political parties do that. All leaders of political parties, they do have the campaign strategists who are there to advise in terms of how to sell yourself, because you are the face of the organization. All
right. Sophie, I'm going to ask you to stay along as we continue with a special broadcast of Morning Live, as the voter registration weekend has already started. Most voting stations have opened at 8 a.m. and they will close at 5 p.m. The registration drive again opens tomorrow. But then let's now cross over to Pearl, and she'll be chatting to Musiwe Mchemsana.